White Rocket Entertainment podcast number 999. Too bad it's not a Space 1999 podcast for 900.
You should have planned better.
Poor planner. Live from the Destiny somewhere across the universe, it's the White Rocket Babylon 5 and Sci-Fi Review podcast. I am your host, Van Allen Plexico, joined as always by my co-host, Andy Fix. Andy, you're out there tonight?
I am. How are you?
Very good, very good. And we are once again joined by our beloved third banana. Hello, third banana across the communication stones, Laura Schroeder. How are you, Laura?
I know he won't let me on the ship.
Right. Which one of us is the second banana, Van?
You are the second banana. I'm the first banana.
Man.
We're all a bunch of bananas.
I'm doing okay, guys. I'm doing okay.
Good. This show is already bananas. All right. So today we're here to talk about. Oh, I didn't write it down. Oh, it's on the screen. Okay. Stargate Universe. We've done. We're caught up on Battlestar Galactica for a little while, so we're back over to SGU. We're going to do 205 Cloverdale, which is an odd name, which we'll get into that, and 206 Trial and Error, which also is interesting. Has that title has an interesting factoid attached. Both titles tonight have interesting factoids, which you guys may already know, and you can report in just a moment. All right, so we're going to cover Stargate Universe tonight. Probably our next episode down the line, just a heads up, we'll be getting back over to Battlestar Galactica. And, of course, Jim and I have Space 1999 popping up here and there whenever we're able to get it on there. So, all right, so we're going to get on into Stargate Universe. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I'm sure you guys will remind me if I'm forgetting something. I guess not. Usually we start out with any announcements or news. There was kind of my show announcements for our next couple of shows. Do we have any news going on?
I think there was something that came out of San Diego Comic-Con about JMS hinted at something happening with Babylon 5 or something like that, or was that me misunderstanding?
I didn't hear anything about Babylon 5.
Saw that too.
Yeah.
There was something.
It was very vague, and
so there was something about the Warner Brothers put out a YouTube channel about it, and he reported it.
Right.
And then found out it was actually Warner Brothers. And I said, JMS reporting the actual Warner Brothers site to Warner Brothers is the most JMS thing that's ever happened on Earth, right? But was there something beyond that?
I forget the exact wording, but he said something about stay tuned, or I don't even know if it was about Babylon 5, but somebody said something, and he about a property he once worked on or what he might be working on. And he said, just stay tuned is all that he said. And I should have written it down, but I thought maybe one of you two could back me up, but thanks, guys.
You got something, Laura?
Since I wasn't sure if I should bring it up now, but since we're discussing things not SGU, the only thing that caught my eye is the award-winning costume designer Jean-Pierre Dorléac, who was the costume designer for the original Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers, other things, passed away.
Oh, that's something. He's probably pretty old though.
He was an award-winning costume designer.
Yeah.
So he worked on, like I said, Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers.
Great costume. I love it. The Battlestar Galactica costumes are fantastic. Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
And anybody who designed Wilma Deering's costumes definitely deserves some sort of award.
I just Googled like JMS news from San Diego Comic-Con, and I didn't find anything. He was on a Becoming a Writer workshop panel, his traditional spotlight panel. He talked about Harlan Ellison's estate, and then that's about it. So I don't know. We'll keep an ear out. I do have a JMS related thing though, is that he was like taking questions, or maybe it was that new channel was taking questions for him, collecting questions to give to him. And so I just did my usual, what about Crusade? Will we ever, learn anything? And I mentioned how 20 years ago this year at Heroes Con was when I asked him the first time. And he said, no, we'll never get the rest of that story. And I said, has anything changed? Am I going to go to my grave, never knowing the rest of the Crusade story? So we'll see if because JMS is interesting. You catch him one day and he'd probably be very concerned and give like a 20-page answer. You catch him another day and he'd tell you go to hell. So you never know what you're going to get with him, as Harlan Ellison pointed out famously in JMS's autobiography. So, the other tidbit was that Joseph Malazzi, who is the former writer and executive producer for all 3 Stargate shows, I mentioned this briefly before. He's been for weeks now conducting polls on Twitter, putting together an extended crew for some fictional starship. And he's like, we voted on the captain, the pilot, the navigator, the AI. We voted on everything he can think of, right? The fighter ship, And a lot of the stuff that wins is Stargate related, probably because that's who's following him, and most likely to see the poll. But the other franchise that gets a lot of wins is the original Star Trek, like classic. So like Captain Kirk will win something, or Mr. Spock will win something, or Scotty, but then it'll be a Stargate person. So I'm just throwing that out. If you're interested in such a thing, just get on Twitter and look for Joseph Malazzi, Mallozzi, and just scroll back through his tweets and you can find all the polls where, and they're still going on. So you can vote on the ones that are still going on. So that's kind of neat. That's about all I have news related. So, if that's everything, I guess we'll get on into it. I want to point out, by the way, we don't have ads on our podcast. I turn down all ad opportunities that come along because we have the patrons that keep us going. We want to thank so much our patrons. And when we get to a little point later in the show, I'm going to go through and thank the patrons and see if they have any questions or comments that we can talk about. But first, let's go ahead and get into 205 Cloverdale. First thought it was 205 David Coverdale, and we were going to be talking about White, but no, it's Cloverdale. And before we get any further, just the title. Wasn't that the name of the kaiju movie a few years ago?
That was Cloverfield.
Okay. Because I always associate, like when I first saw this episode title years ago, and I watched this show first run, I thought, oh, we're going to go fight a monster in Central Park or something. I was really confused.
I thought
that's not why it's called that.
That's not? Okay, because that was my assumption, that it was a play on Cloverfield because of the alien plant species that we're trying to eat them. But I guess I'm wrong.
Well, no, I meant it wasn't about giant monsters in New York City or whatever.
Right.
I meant it's actually the name of the town where they filmed the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yes.
It's an actual town.
Oh, that's
Canada.
Cool.
So we'll get to the little odds and ends here in a second. Let me hit the usual boilerplate stuff. This originally aired October 26, 2010, which means this episode aired around the time I was pulling what's left of my hair out over the Cam Newton eligibility situation on my national championship Auburn Tigers. Written by Brad Wright, who wrote a lot of episodes of all 3, I think. His name pops up a lot, along with Malazzi and the other guys. There's like 4 or 5 guys that are like really involved in all 3 Stargate series, and Brad Wright's one of them.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
I don't know why Siri keeps coming to life on my phone while I'm sitting here. It didn't go away.
She wants to talk to you,
I guess. Directed by Alex Chappell. Not really familiar with Alex Chappell, but that's maybe the first time we've encountered this person. All right, I'll give a quick description of what happens. Lieutenant Matthew Scott is infected by an alien organism and starts hallucinating. The off-world team must find a way to cure him, or they will have to leave him behind, fearing spreading the infection to the people on the ship. And the hallucinations, by the way, this is a very short, one of those short, like Babylon 5 style, like we used to do, Andy, summaries. But the hallucinations are that he's about to marry Chloe back in the town of Cloverdale. And I keep wanting to say Cloverfield. And everybody basically in the town is someone from the ship in very appropriate roles. I really like the roles they found. So we're going to talk about that. All right. So news and factoids. Laura, what did you find that you wanted to mention up front about like just any notes or factoids?
Oh, we already covered that. That Cloverdale is an actually real town in Canada, in Vancouver, where they film, but it has been used for multiple town, Main Street town areas in various shows that are filmed in that area of Canada.
Yeah, I saw that it said Smallville was filmed there.
Yeah, it was a feature. I never watched Smallville, but yeah, it was definitely it was used in Smallville.
Yeah, I never watched it either, but it kind of makes sense. It's supposed to look like a little country town, like in the middle of Kansas or something. It's funny though, because I've always said that on the Stargate franchise, the alien planets look like Canada. Well, now Earth looks like the United States, looks like Canada too. How about that?
Canada's taking over.
Yeah, Canada taking over everything. So, by the way, it's funny. I just realized I never went back and got the who the director of Trial and Error was. So we'll have to catch up to that in in a little while. Okay. Both of these episodes. I'm sorry, Andy. I meant to ask you if you have any factoids or notes.
I have been horrible at finding anything related to these episodes as far as trivia goes. I can't find anything anywhere.
All right. Well, I got a couple of things. I've just noted off the top of my head, both of these episodes we're going to talk about today involve one of the characters dreaming or having some kind of a hallucination for most of the episode, which is interesting.
Yeah. And I find that interesting now because one of the panels I'm on at DragonCon is about dreams and altered realities it's on the military sci-fi media panel, and it's about dreams and altered realities in shows like this. So I'm like, oh, how appropriate.
Very cool. All right, let's see. I'd forgotten the Stargate SG1 episode, The Changeling, but it has similarities with that episode. They do. I mean, we've always talked about how one of the things that the Stargate franchise does is because it's not I started saying not set on a ship, but this show is set on a ship. But, this show is not really set on a ship the way that most ship-based shows are. This is more like Space 1999. They might as well be on a runaway planetoid or something as a ship because they can't steer it. They can't do much, right? So I've always said that the Stargate shows are really just sort of a blank canvas for them to do all different kind of cool sci-fi TV ideas, right? Like that's one thing I really appreciate about all the Stargate shows is that every episode, they basically take a different sort of classic sci-fi trope and do an episode. It could be time travel, time loop, there's a lot of different things that they do. And so, the whole idea of the characters hallucinating is yet another one where they, you see their life. Yeah, it's just an interesting idea. The closing moments of the episode is a composition by Bach Arioso. We see the Venom again from everybody's favorite episode, back in season 1. Okay, my favorite episode, where the little eel creatures were killing everybody. And had that venom, and they've really made a lot of use out of that venom ever since that episode. I think that's really cool how that's carried over. Because they don't have a lot of drugs with them, a lot of pharmaceuticals. Right. So they've kind of had, TJ has kind of had to manufacture her own drugs on the fly, and it's really neat how they've used that as kind of an all-purpose medicine.
Didn't work so well this episode.
No, it didn't work so well this time. It's funny in Scott's dream, he and Chloe go see a movie, which is basically about the same episode that it's just, he's hallucinating the whole thing. But and there's no Camille in this episode, which is always disappointing. All right, that's all the factoids I have for that one. So I can never remember how we do it. For Galactica, we kind of go one episode at a time when they're separate. We haven't had a separate one yet. 2 separate ones yet. Do we want to talk about throw 206 in also, or you want to talk about just 205?
No, I think they need to be separate.
Right. They're not the same story. They're not. Yeah. Okay. It's not a two-parter or anything. Yeah, I agree.
All right. So let's go ahead then and get into 205. So first topic I want to bring up, what is the deal going on with, and it's kind of an unanswered question too, but what is the deal going on with Chloe and how long are they going to draw it out? And has she just become the way that the writers can have an extra wild card when they need one, like to cure Lieutenant Scott? What are y'all's thoughts on that? Laura, go ahead first.
Well, that was my first, because I've got a couple unanswered questions, of course, and that was the first one. We still don't know what's going on with Chloe. And yeah, is this going to come to a big, reveal, or is it what's the purpose for this?
Right now, she's coming across as Chloe ex machina. So I mean, it's I don't know if that's intentional, if they just kind of left her slate blank so they could write anything they need into her, into her quote unquote powers, or if they actually have a goal that they're working towards. I don't know.
Well, and one interesting thought, I think, is I think that the previous times I've watched this episode, when the aliens show up again, as they do multiple times in the loop, right? I keep thinking, well, there's those aliens again, man. But they really didn't. This was all, I mean, this is what I call Space 1999 war games, where it all plays out in the commander's head.
That's the next episode, man.
Oh, that's right. We were talking about the
one where he gets bitten by the plant.
Chloe, Chloe figures into both though, and that's why I got confused. Right. So yeah, in this one, Chloe is able to, her blood is able to save Scott from the infection. That's right. Okay, I'll say that other thought. But yeah, we don't really know where they're going with that. It comes up again the next episode with, is she causing the aliens to find them or something? And there's something to that. All right. So yeah, I don't think anybody, and I don't remember. So it's kind of fun for me because I've watched this show all the way through like 3 times, and I don't remember where the Chloe thing goes. So it's kind of neat. Let's see, and along similar lines, Dr. Rush is being kind of weird because you saw when he was confronted with, or am I on the next one again?
You're on the next one.
You're on the next one again.
Yeah, but it comes up here like we thought
in
he
this
was cured.
In this one, he's
she
just
it. She gets it in her hand.
Yeah, he that whole thing. So he's putting it. He had framed that the chair had cured her, knowing it hadn't, because he didn't do anything, because he wants to be able to access that part of her brain. And so what happens is when she discovers some of the alien stuff on her shirt and it didn't infect her, and TJ puts it together that I thought you were cured from the alien stuff. Why is this not affecting you?
And what did he say?
I don't remember. I don't know.
He goes, I guess she relapsed.
Yes, she relapsed. Yes, that's it.
I guess she relapsed. I'm like, wow, Rush, you put a lot of thought into what your fallback position was going to be, man. I guess she relapsed. It happens, In other words, not his fault, right? He's reflecting.
I wasn't lying before. I was telling the truth before.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. This is the first time they've really used the Event Horizon backwash of the wormhole to kill an enemy.
Yes.
Right.
Atlantis, it seemed like they did that every other episode. In Stargate Atlantis, they're always using that thing like to disintegrate anything that's chasing them or whatever.
Right.
But sure, that the big plant goes up to get them and it just gets annihilated by that backwash. That was pretty fun. And then my last little story point was, it was funny how the parasite thing just crumbled to pieces and Scott's arm was fine after Zoe's blood. So, all right.
Yeah, that was one of the issues I had with this episode.
That he didn't suffer any consequences.
The whole episode was a nothing episode because everything that was, supposedly advanced was reversed. I mean, he was infected and he was going to die, and then he's better, and then it felt like a filler episode to me.
Yeah. and too much Cloverdale or whatever to me. I was like,
Right.
look, if the problem is that he's got this thing on his arm, let's worry about that. And next
Right.
thing you know, we're back to Chloe's wedding. Oh yay, we're back to the surprise party. And there was some interesting character stuff there, like the dude that ran over him. That was hilarious. First thing happens is he gets run over. But
so I actually looked at this a little differently than you guys, because this was definitely a Scott-centric episode. And I took his hallucinations. I mean, it was his brain trying to cope with what was going on with the body, and process it. And that's why, we have this Wizard of Oz thing, and everyone that's in that altered reality actually exists. But it also kind of gave you a peek into Scott's psyche and things that maybe he even didn't know about himself, how he looks at Chloe. Does he really, is there apprehension there? Like one of the things on my list, does he still have a thing for Vanessa James? Because, I mean, the role that they put her in this Cloverdale, it's just like, so we find out he's having second thoughts because, and it's related to Chloe's alien transformation thing. And so is he thinking, oh, well, if this doesn't work out, I can just, fall back to James. And I think she would act like her character in this hallucination and just kick him to the curb.
I mean, those character revelations weren't, to me, very revealing, because I just assumed that he was that kind of a jerk anyway. So
yeah.
I mean, it didn't reveal anything new to me. So maybe I'm being too harsh.
Yeah, there was a lot of interpretation, open to interpretation, in terms of like, was it just the story or was it his character in the larger scheme? I don't know. It's interesting to think about. All right, well, let's get into some unanswered questions for this episode. Actually, I thought that a lot of the unanswered questions from 205 get answered in 206. Like, will Scott become infected by Chloe's whatever? No, apparently not.
Yeah. Well, and mine was, will he be mad that this happened? And we find out, like you said, no, he's not mad at her for giving him her blood.
Right, which is, I mean, if they had carried some of that over, into the continuing story arc, then it would have been interesting. But because everything was reset back to where it was before the episode started, it really, it was not very consequential.
And there was a question of how long would they be in quarantine, shut off from the crew, even worse than the Lucian Alliance people, and it ended up being like 5 minutes.
Right.
So
for Scott anyway.
Yeah, they've got Chloe locked up really more because she might go off and try to destroy the ship or something.
Or communicate with the aliens.
Yeah. All right. Any other unanswered questions? I think we've kind of hit them all at this point. All right. So go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you. Yeah, I think we covered everything.
So what do we think of the overall direction of the series at this point? And let me ask you, Andy, because it sounds like you have more doubts now than before, maybe it feel like it's treading water or something for you.
This particular episode, I'm willing to give him a pass. It's even Babylon 5 had stinker episodes in the middle of great seasons, so I'm willing to give him a pass. But no, I was not. If they're going back to more episodic episodes and aren't addressing any of the narrative drive for the first season seemed pretty strong, and so far it's been kind of slapdash, in the second season. So again, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and hope that they get things, going back to the major story arc.
Well, I'll say this about that, and I'll get Laura's thoughts, but the common wisdom, the conventional wisdom about Stargate Universe is that the second season is better than the first season, that they got better at it and everything.
Okay.
But I have not found that to be the case on this particular rewatch. And of course, we, as you and I discovered over 5 years of Babylon 5, you see things slightly differently when you go through and analytically rewatch it like we've been doing.
Yep.
But I thought that season 2 started off pretty strong with the Lucian Alliance stuff. But once they got that resolved and kind of sorted them out and kind of disappeared them largely until next episode off the page, they've just kind of gotten back to the little episodic fumbling around. Oh no, where are we this time?
Yep.
And so there's good stuff coming, but it's just like do you remember when we watched season 3 and maybe even season 4 of Babylon 5, and we were like in the middle of those seasons, or like the early middle of both seasons, we were like, it's way more episodic and lower grade episodes than we remembered. That's kind of where it feels like we are right now.
Yep. Yeah, this felt like one of the early monster of the week type things, or problem of the week, I guess. They go to a planet, they encounter a problem. By the end of the episode, they have the last minute solution and everything's fine. And then back to the next.
Well, let me add one other thing then, just to be fair to this episode. I thought that a lot of the character stuff, while I didn't love the Cloverdale parts, I thought that a lot of the character stuff they were able to do by putting those characters in a different context and sometimes in different roles was interesting. So let me go to you, Laura. Your thoughts first about like where this episode stands, and then the Cloverdale.
So this is my second time watching the series, and I have a feeling I'm going to like vastly diverge from both of you, because I did like this episode specifically because of the character stuff. And this, to me, it was a deep dive into the subconscious of Scott. And like I said, I'm looking at it as a trauma response to what he's actually physically going through, but also it shows how he looks at the various people in his world now. And so I found that interesting from his perspective, but also then in the, now shots, them battling everything on, the planet, all that, and what is going on. I thought it was great, showing character development and the evolution of certain characters, especially Greer, because we're seeing a completely different Greer than we saw early in season 1, where he would, we all wanted to shove him out the airlock, like first, second episode, because he just was this hot-headed jerk. But, we've seen some of his progression. And in this, I mean, he's, Chloe's wasn't going to leave. She's, going to go down with Scott, but Greer wasn't leaving them either. He's like, you guys go. I'm holding the line until it's over. So I think, we're seeing different sides, and it was great character development. But also this, with Young, you could see him questioning Chloe, and it's just like, is he really going to do what he needs to do to protect everybody, rather than just, he did not want, I mean, we know how he feels about Scott, but he would have left him there and not risked infecting the entire ship. And so I really liked this as a character study and a progression.
It definitely was an episode that could not have been done in the first season.
Right.
Because, I mean, while it is still the monster of the week and it still is, a self-contained episode, it does build on a lot of that character development that you mentioned.
And I also want to mention the roles that people were in. Like, it was very interesting that Young was his father.
Mm-hmm. But you could see that through the whole series.
Yeah. And they revisit that idea in the next episode about which one of them is more capable of being in charge and so forth. I liked that Rush was the priest or the reverend. The
he was a justice of the peace, I thought.
He called him the minister at some point.
Well, maybe that. So.
And he was still as slimy as Rush ever is, which is hilarious.
So good though. Standard it is then.
Yeah.
puts his cowboy boots up on his desk. I thought that was great. Let's see. TJ was just a paramedic, which was kind of an unnamed character, but there were a few that were kind of cool. It was Brody's bar, wasn't it? One of the two.
Well, he's the one that made the
scientists
steel. The still. He's the one that created the still.
right.
So
Right.
it would
makes sense.
naturally
That's
he would
facts.
be own a bar.
It's amazing how much all those scientists are starting to just blend together. I know, Van, this has been an issue with you, but now it's starting to happen to me too, because they all dress alike. They all have a very similar hairdo, similar body shape. I mean, it's just like, holy cow. There's no way to differentiate.
The one that was different is the one that got vacuumed up into the chair and only appears to Rush now.
Even he is starting to look like the other two. I mean, when he appeared, I was like, wait, is that Brody? Or, oh, no, that's the guy that got sucked into the chair.
Yeah. So,
and I don't know if it's just me, but I don't know why you guys have such a difficult time distinguishing between them, because they are all very different. You've got Brody, you've got Volker, and you've got Franklin. Franklin was not in this episode. It was Volker that was the dentist,
right?
But he's still kind of the awkward one. Franklin wasn't in it because he hasn't been seen by anybody but Rush since the beginning. So since the chair thing. So I'm like there, and then Park, of course, now she's female, so you're obviously going to distinguish her. But
we know her, but
I'm like, I know
Brody.
who these. I know who these people are. I don't know why you guys have such a hard
Volker
time.
and Brody might as well be the same guy. I can't tell them apart.
They're not, though. They are so not.
Can't tell them.
Yeah, one of them turned down Lieutenant James. So,
let me see. All right, what was the most interesting or intriguing character in Cloverdale? You one of y'all?
I have Greer.
Okay.
Because when he was in the dream, apparently how what's his name saw him, how Scott saw him. He was the fraternity brother. He was there. He was his best man. He wasn't the angry dude that he always is. I thought that was interesting to see. And then when he was on the on the planet, he was like what Laura was mentioning. He was ready to do everything above and beyond to make sure that Scott wasn't didn't die. So
that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was a neat side of him.
I'll say this about Greer. My favorite moment was a little one, but it caught my attention every time I've watched this episode. Is when Eli and Greer meet. Eli being all like Eli, he's like, oh well, I wasn't around or whatever to be tabbed as the best man. So it was not a very cool thing to say, but he meant it kind of as, hey, I'm more important than you think,
Right.
The Greer we know might have said something smart or dismissive, and instead he says, well, it was lucky for me, or something like my lucky day. And I thought, wow, that is a very interesting thing for Greer to say.
But that was in Scott's head.
Right.
That's how Scott perceives him.
Right. Yeah, that in that Greer is a little different. That's what we're saying. That Greer's a little different in that.
He sees a different side than what Greer presents.
Yeah. Yeah, I just really like that he was very charitable and generous about it.
Yes.
Rather than sniping back at him, you're like, oh, he was always going to take me. What are you talking about, punk? No, nerd. No, he's like, well, lucky me. I thought, wow, what a cool thing to say. Laura, your most interesting or intriguing character in this episode.
So I guess, I don't feel it's a cop-out, but because it was a Matt-centric episode, I said Matt Scott because it did give us that look into his subconscious and how he perceives these people on the ship. He even included Telford. Telford was the sheriff. We don't know if Telford's still alive, but Telford made it into his subconscious, whereas Camille didn't. She's on the ship. And so at this point in time, Camille is not part of his world. Telford is, because he knew him from Earth. They're in the military, and these are the people he associates most with. He's really had nothing more than conflict with Camille Ray. So therefore, she doesn't have a place. So I mean, I don't know if that's why she was not in this episode, but that's where my brain goes. Why she wasn't in it. It's not like she's not important or anything, but it's just she is not part of his inner circle and his inner world. And the rest of these people are in some shape. So, and I just found it interesting, especially with Chloe, because right before everything gets better, and they're at the wedding, and Chloe, in her beautiful gown and all that, looks at him, and like part of her face is looking alien. So we know there is fear in him about that.
It's funny. Like if it was like the Wizard of Oz, where when Scott wakes up, he's like, I just had a dream and you were in it.
You were it.
And then Camille's like, who was I? And he's like,
the
mayor. You were the mayor of the city. Okay. I agree that I think I'm going to go with Greer. Is there anybody we wish they'd shoved out the airlock?
Do we do? Oh, I don't have anybody.
This episode, because it was where the little bit that was real versus everything in Scott's hallucinations, like there was no one to shove anywhere.
I think this particular category is past its expiration point, because I'm not sure if everybody is interesting enough, even when they're jerks, they're interesting enough that and valuable enough to the survival of the crew that you don't want to shove anybody out there. So.
Well, we may get rid of this category, but I will say I did note this. I said apparently they did shove the Lucian Alliance guy that likes TJ out the airlock, because we don't see him for either one of these episodes.
Right.
She gets a little alone time with Young finally in the next one, so which is hard when he's always hanging all over her. Oh, hey TJ, if they'll just let me out, I'll spend more time following you around like a puppy dog.
I got lots to say about the next episode. You guys are going to be sorry. You're going to be like, oh my God, will she shut up?
No. All right. Andy, favorite moment from this one?
My favorite moment was when Greer was fighting off the aliens with the flamethrower. She was like,
that's what I said. That's what I said too.
He was fighting for his very survival and basically losing, and yet he was having a blast.
He was talking to him. He was taunting the plants.
Right.
You want some of this? You want some of this? Get some of this. Oh, yeah, okay. When Greer gets to bust out the flamethrower, it's a party.
Right.
Party time. All right, Laura, what did you think was your favorite moment?
So my favorite moment also involved Greer, but for a very different reason. And it was when he's like, I am staying till this is done, and I will hold them off as long as we can. And, he's like, I'm going to keep dialing this, to take out, because that's the one thing that will scare them and they know we'll take him out. And he was just, take charge. This is how it's going to happen. So protective over both Scott and Chloe, making sure they stayed down. It was something that we did not know was in him, and it just showed so much more depth to him and how much he really, really does care about these people, and he's going to do anything he can to protect them.
And I will note that he didn't say, I will try my hardest. He said, I will do this.
Yes.
No, we are going to get him healed, and we will get them back, and we aren't going to die. I mean, it wasn't like, well, this is going to be my big hurrah, my last go. No, we're going to do this.
And I truly believe if it didn't work and Destiny was going to jump before everything was right, he was prepared to stay there and die with the other two.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think so. I know that it's amazing how many times on this series it seems like the ship's going to lose half its passengers, crew, whatever you want to call them. They keep getting in a position, and only a few of them have gotten left behind or killed so far. But it always seems like they'd be down to like nobody. It's going to be Rush by himself sitting in there trying to run the whole thing, but it never actually happens. All right, so who won this episode, Laura?
Well, I said Matt because he didn't die.
Yeah, Andy?
I'd say Lieutenant Scott as well, because he didn't end up becoming, purple fungus.
Yeah. It would have been interesting to see what he looked like if that thing had totally covered him over. It'd just been a big purple blob. I had Chloe and Scott because they both kind of won. They got to not get left behind and not turn into purple plants and whatever. So, all right, Andy, who lost?
I'd say Lieutenant Scott. Because, as far as he knows, he got stuck in quarantine for the foreseeable future. He's now infected with this thing that scares him and all that stuff. Now we find out, in the very next episode that, it's all got hit by the reset button. But at least at the end of this episode, he was kind of stuck in an undesirable situation.
That's true. Winner and loser. Laura, you have any different thoughts on that?
I didn't have anybody who lost.
Okay.
And I don't know. I don't really have a proper place to put this in, so I'm going to just insert this right here. That whole thing with the blood transfusion, because do we even know if Chloe and Scott had the same blood type? I mean, this was a good way to just kill someone.
I was wondering. Yeah. I was wondering that.
But then again, I mean, we don't know, and it's a TV show, but I kind of felt like when you mentioned this earlier about, is Chloe just a device to be able to solve problems when they need it? Did they kind of jump the shark on this one? With, oh, I'm immune. So see, I even got myself attacked on purpose. So let me, my blood can actually fix him. So it did that kind of jumped the shark. Because then, like you said, it fell off. They ran back on, and they're fine.
Like it was never there. Yeah.
Right.
I had James also lost because she gets treated so badly by Scott in the dream world.
Yeah, but we all won because she was walking around in a miniskirt. So
yeah, that's true. There was the winning side of it. That's fair.
And I did love the fact that in that dreamscape, she just basically is like, go away.
Right.
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
Yeah. Was there a most Stargate moment for this one?
Yes. Go ahead, Laura.
The Event Horizon taking out the plant.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah. I had the saving the day just in the nick of time, just like they do every third episode.
Well, that's from Galaxy Quest.
The clock was ticking, and sure enough, right at the very last second, they saved the day. So it was
I had a whole other life playing out while the parasite's on somebody. I feel like that's kind of a thing that they like to go to a lot in Stargate, is seeing like these other realities. I mean, like that's what I was saying before, is that it's one of the many types of stories that they do on Stargate shows, is the other reality. This is what could have happened. This is how it could have been if kind of things. They do that a lot. We haven't used, by the way, the communication stones in a while, though we've heard talk of the communication stones being used. So we're going to get to that in the next one.
Well, they just used them in the last one.
Did they?
That was Eli's mom.
Oh, that's right. Okay. It's been a while.
They haven't used them on any of the Battlestar Galactica episodes, which is probably what you're thinking of.
That's true. What are they're slacking on that. Does either one of you have any flex categories you want to throw out there for this one?
No, I don't. This was a very straightforward episode as far as storytelling went. So
yeah, the only one I had for this episode is that the character who seemed to think they were in a different show from everybody else was Scott in Cloverfield.
Yeah, right. That's a good one.
Because he was in a different show, and he knew it. He could tell something was wrong.
But when he saw the movie, he knew he'd seen it already.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't want to watch that movie at all. He did not approve of that movie. All right. So let's give this one our rating, and then we'll let Andy guess the Gate World and IMDb rating. So, Laura, on a scale of 0 to 5, how did you rate Cloverfield Dale?
I gave it a 3.5 because I loved the whole character-driven and development aspects of this episode.
I'm gonna go ahead and guess that's higher than Andy and I.
I kind of think so too.
All right, so 3.5 is pretty good. Andy, what did you give this one?
I gave it a 2.5, which I'll just to warn Laura, that's not bad. Just because you give, War Without End 2.5 stars doesn't mean it's a terrible episode. So yeah, I gave it a 2.5.
Our listeners and viewers that don't go all the way back to the Babylon 5 era with us will not get the joke there, which is that Andy hated War Without End, which is
I didn't hate it.
Episodes in the history
I gave
of
it a
Babylon
2.5. That's a mid-range. So it was a mid-episode.
That was half.
one of the greatest episode combinations in television history. I gave this one a 2.0.
Oh wow.
Yeah, one of my least favorite episodes.
But see, also, I look at this. I mean, we are definitely three very distinct people, and we are not going to agree on everything all the time, and certain things will resonate with us at different times. So love the fact that I'm right and you guys are wrong, but
all right, here goes my favorite part of every episode we do. Andy guesses the rating. We can do it twice. We're doing 2 episodes. So you can just throw a number out, I guess, and we'll see if it's closer to Gate World, closer to IMDb. They're both on a scale of 0 to 10, and they go to multiple decimal places. So you can just go to one place is fine. So what do you think?
I'm gonna say, my baseline is 7.0. I'm gonna say 6.5. I don't think this one will be as popular with the general Stargate fans as others. So I'm going to say 6.5.
All right. The Gate World rating is 5.92.
Wow.
Not a popular episode. The IMDb rating, though, is 6.3. So you're 0.2 off. That's pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. You're closer to IMDb than you are to Gate World, which makes
5.9. Boy, that show gets a lot of hate. This episode does.
Yeah, that was not good. All right.
People just don't get it.
So let me see. So as we're about to switch over to our second episode, let me just quickly run through and thank our patrons that make our show possible. We got a number of, actually I want to do the comments first because we've gotten a couple of comments from our Battlestar Galactica 102 and 103 Lost Planet of the Gods. Grumpy old SGU fan says, hi all, a couple of comments. First, I'm enjoying the Stargate Universe reviews very much, although I don't post often to tell you that. Second, I watched Battlestar Galactica when it was originally aired, and I really liked it. I have not watched it since, but I distinctly remember a scene where Starbuck tells one of the female trainees that when flying a Viper, the ship is so sensitive that thinking about it is enough to make it happen, or words to that effect. So if the version you watched did not have that scene, it has been cut. I think we determined it was in like the trailer or something, but not in the episode.
But I remember seeing it in the episode. I haven't gone back to watch that, but I distinctly remember that being in the episode. So yeah, we may be watching different versions because I'm watching it on Apple. You guys are watching it elsewhere. So
I'm watching it on my pirated copy that I made off of my old DVDs from 2003. So there is some still remaining controversy about that, but other people remember it. So I remember that too. All right. And then Mond06 takes us to task.
Uh-oh.
It shocks me that you say it's stupid. I don't know if we said it was stupid, but I'll trust him. That Firefly has all those habitable planets. It's clearly established that every planet in Firefly with people is terraformed. It's even established that multiple gas giants were helioformed to become stars to make more of the planets and moons habitable. But is it all in our solar system? I don't remember any of that. I believe him that it was said at some point in the show, but I don't remember that is all.
I don't either. But it's set in a solar system. It's not set in our solar system. So
yeah, it's a solar system, but I do know because I mean the intro to Firefly talks about the terraforming, and that's why we have all these little frontier worlds that are in the outer planets, because they were terraformed. They dropped settlers off and said, "Good luck."
Yeah.
Whereas the central planets is where the Alliance is and all of that. So that's where all the high tech, the med, and all that. So yeah, you have,
that.
But yeah,
that might all be legit. It seems like it's well, we're getting into a whole different show, but it just felt like that the universe or the verse, whatever they called it, was much bigger than what could be contained in one solar system.
That is my exact point. My exact point.
I don't think it's stupid. I just think it's TV science fiction. So
yeah. Yeah, and he concludes with, I think you need to rewatch Firefly and Serenity and add it to the podcast, perhaps after SGU is concluded. I'm always up for Firefly. We can do Firefly in what? So like 7 episodes basically.
I'm down with Firefly. We got Firefly and we got Space Above and Beyond. So I'm open to either and or both.
Good deal. All
and Battlestar Galactica 1980.
Oh Lord, no! You almost snuck that one by me because you see I'm desperately trying to find our. All right, so let me quickly thank. I want to make sure I get all of our active members here. These are the fine folks that keep this show going. We're about to talk about 206 in just a moment, but I want to thank all of the fine folks, and it just messed up. Thanks a bunch, dang Patreon. Leah G, Emmanuel Seaman, Rich Hammett, Stu Parker, Sech Atumbe, The Geek Boy, The Bookish Hedgehog, Univez and Unaluna Azul, Pete, Wildstar, Fire the Wave Motion Gun, Furman, Middle-Aged Tim, Grumpy Old SGU Fan, Dragon Con Todd of the Discerning Geeks Portal Podcast, Fit to be Mutai, DRKX, Steve the Green Hand. I hope Steve's enjoying it. He was giving us some comments earlier. Heather and Yancey Steingraber, Jaquan Enjoyer. I like that one. Mondo 6 had a great comment there for us about Firefly. Drazi Purple in Purple. We are stunning. Lou Welch's Revenge, Jay, Captain Quinn of the EAS Achilles, and Justine Jones. Because of those aforementioned folks, we are able to bring you this show commercial free. Go to I had a big chat session with the web host the other day because I found out if I type www.b5review.com, it was taking me to like a blank page. And I was really upset. But if I type in b5review.com, it was taking me to our page. But other computers were working. So it may just be something weird that mine was doing. But b5review.com should take you to our main page where you can click on the button, become a patron, and keep the show commercial free the way we all like it. And by all means, please do leave comments and questions there on the Patreon page. I realized that I was a little bit slack there for a few episodes when we were transitioning over to SGU and we were adding Laura, and things were kind of up in the air a little bit, from when we ended Babylon 5 until now. But we kind of settled back into our groove again, and I want to make sure that we get lots of good comments and questions from our Patreons, and we need new folks to sign up and post good comments and questions there too. All right, gang, you want to hit 206 Trial and Error, which I still don't know who directed it. Who directed SGU Trial and Error? Well, let's see if the internet can tell us. That would be Andy Makita, of course. Andy Makita directed it. He's kind of one of those, like we used to talk about the Mount Rushmore of directors of Babylon 5, Andy. I think Andy Makita would be a Stargate Mount Rushmore.
His name has come up more than once for sure.
Okay. Yes. Originally aired November 2nd, 2010. Written by Paul Mully, who also was very involved. You see the same 7-8 names for a lot of Stargate stuff. And let's see, I don't have any special guests to note other than the young lady that plays Gin. That is Julie McNiven. And all right, let's see. I have a couple of things for this episode. Do you guys have any notes and factoids and comments to throw in before we get into it, or as we get into it?
The only thing I noticed was this one had more than one word in the title.
Bingo. First episode ever. Yeah. And one of the only, there's a few more, but not many.
I thought that
And
was
we
interesting.
talked about Babylon 5 tried to do that in season 1, but it didn't take long before JMS got set straight. Yeah.
Right.
Believers, survivors, eyes, and
Infection, TKO.
Yeah. So he got over that pretty quick. Okay, Laura, did you have anything else besides? I think we all had
just observation that this is another altered reality / dream episode. Because with what Young's doing, it's at first because I wasn't quite sure. I remember when each episode starts, I'm like, oh, that's what happens in this one. So I'm like, was this another like time loop episode? But then we find out, no, it's dream. But it's just Young in a time loop in his own mind. But yeah, it's just, it was interesting to have 2 episodes back to back that both have a lot of real estate in somebody's mind.
Yeah. Oh, I agree completely. Yeah.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, we can get into it when we talk about our thoughts on the episode.
Well, go ahead. That's what we're going to do now. So,
okay. I thought one of my favorite Star Trek: The Next Generation episodes was built around a very similar concept where the Enterprise keeps getting destroyed over and over again, and the crew has to figure out what it is that they're doing wrong before they can fix it. And it turned out that it was a time loop sort of thing, not a dream sort of thing. But I thought this one was a little too derivative of that episode. I mean, it hit a lot of the same.
I knew it reminded me of something,
deal,
and I think that's it. Yeah, bingo.
It's a very famous episode, and I can't for the life of me remember the title. I think it was Conundrum or something like that. But it was a very famous Next Generation, one of the best Star Trek episodes of any series. And this one seemed to be a little too derivative of that.
Yeah. A couple of things. This episode is a favorite of the production team and some of the actors, I think mainly because they enjoyed the conversations, that there's a lot of good one-on-one. I noted Young and Scott had a deep conversation, Eli and Greer, Eli and Ginn, Young and TJ, Rush and several, Young and Camille, right? There's a number of times where you get one-on-one all the way through this episode. Not a lot of group scenes, a lot of one-on-ones in this episode that I think the actors liked.
Right.
Brad Wright, the executive producer, says that this is a huge test of Colonel Young's character, his descent that has been sort of triggered by Riley's death, right? In other words, when he had to suffocate Riley, who was gotten crushed on that planet, ever since then, he's been kind of going down the tubes a little bit. It's pushed him to the wall. You notice he hadn't shaved this whole episode, right? They made much of that on Battlestar Galactica, the new Galactica, the idea of when Adama didn't shave and did shave, it was kind of reflective of where his mind was. He says, Brad Wright says, I think that Louis Ferreira's work in this episode is Emmy worthy. He is brilliant in this episode. And honestly, the scene with him and Scott at the end is just, Louis is an amazing actor. I do really love Louis Ferreira. I love him, everything I've seen him in. He was in the new Shogun as Ferreira. I thought that was so good that they had him play a character with the same name, the Portuguese captain. And he was in Breaking Bad, but I love him as Colonel Young. I think he's a very fascinating, he's kind of like Gideon on Babylon on Crusade. He's not always the typical captain, but he's interesting, right? John Sheridan is the shining Captain America, but he is more of a nuanced, interesting gray figure, and I like that.
Right.
He's flawed. He's human.
He is very flawed. Yeah. Who was he on Breaking Bad?
He was one of the villains toward the end of that show. He was one of those bad guys that he had a goatee.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Wow. I never realized that. That's cool.
And speaking of Louis Ferreira, here's his quote, and this is worth kind of running through really quickly. Louis Ferreira himself says, whether you like him or not, Young is good at what he does. He doesn't have to do things in a bright and cheery way either. People will sometimes come up to me and say, but he's so stern, and I admire individuals like Young. He's so opposite personally from where I'm at. I'm quite gregarious. I love humor, but there's something about the dependability of a person like Young. The structure is there with him, and it's something you can always count on. Now, we can debate that, but it's an interesting way that Ferreira looks at him.
Right.
And then he says, that's who Young is, But for the first time, that's not the case in this episode. There's actually a line in the episode where he says something like, you know what, it all eventually adds up. And that humanness in him comes out. It's rare for Young to exploit his insecurities and vulnerabilities, but that's one of the things I enjoyed about this episode. You got to see Young weak, you got to see him fail, and you got to see him be more human in some ways. So I was very pleased with how the episode turned out. Interesting quote and perspective on the actor playing him. Because we tend to talk about Young from the standpoint of the things he does wrong and the ways he doesn't measure up, but Ferreira's looking at it as from the ways that he's good, the way he's very competent. So,
yeah, cool insight.
All right, let's see. I mentioned this before, but I had a note here that this episode shows how sometimes this show does really swing big. They don't always limit themselves to small ideas. They blow up the ship several times in this episode, although it does kind of turn out to be war games. And let me, for those that don't know, there's a very famous episode of Space 1999 where, you know, it's just like this show. These shows are very similar. I've said that a million times, where the moon is approaching this planet, this alien planet across the universe. And they're always looking for a place they can evacuate the moon and live on a real planet, right? That's one of the driving things of 1999 is they want to get off the stupid moon and live on a real planet. And they encounter this planet, and as they're coming up on it, a bunch of warships attack them, Hawks. And they're puzzled because Hawks are human warships, like the military equivalent of the Eagles that they famously fly. But they fight them anyway, and the Hawks just destroy Moonbase Alpha and kill everybody on it. And the last few survivors, Koenig and Dr. Russell and all, go to the planet, and they have a conversation with the aliens who basically say, you're too contaminating. We don't want you on our planet. And then Koenig like blinks, and they're right back to when those ships are approaching again. Everybody's alive. And this time he says, don't fire, don't shoot, stand down. And the aliens, the Hawks disappear, and the moon just goes on by. So the whole episode was a warning. Here's what will happen if you use force to get your way on us, the aliens are mentally saying. And that's a lot of what this episode was, is the ship giving a war game scenario. But here is my issue with it. Here's the problem I have with this episode. I thought that a lot of this episode is really good. The problem I had with it is we see that it's doing two things. It's testing Young to see if he's still up for being the commander, allegedly, right? And it's making him work through different scenarios to see what would work if those aliens ever attack them again. I don't know that we get an answer to the second question.
Correct. We never do. We never find out what the magic key is
Nothing
to winning
works.
an engagement. Yeah, right.
Well,
Nothing works, right?
And then my thought is the reveal at the end. Was the ship really testing Young, or was this just all coincidental?
Right.
Well, and did the ship rule favorably on him, or did Rush find a way to turn off the test?
Well, no,
Exactly.
That's what we found out. It wasn't that Rush found out a way to turn off the test. He found a way to get the ship to bypass. So, actually, they saw that the ship was running scenarios. There was this loop, but he's the one
he got to jump.
He was able to bypass it and get it going. So I guess my whole thing is like the everyone else looks at the minute that Young mans up and decides, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this, the ship goes into FTL, and it's like, the ship but the ship didn't recognize that was happening. It was Rush actually putting the ship into FTL.
Right.
And the thing too, the reason the aliens attacked them was because the ship stopped to run this test. And once they jumped again, they were no longer vulnerable to the aliens.
But there were no aliens.
To the possibility of the aliens.
Right.
Is that Andy? Is that how you read it? What are your
Yes.
thoughts?
Yeah. They wouldn't have been put into that situation if it weren't for the ship dropping out of FTL.
Randomly for
Right.
there were no gates.
Exactly.
It was a very confusing episode in a way like that because
Mhm.
it tells you one thing is the situation for the whole episode, and at the very end it switches out. Oh, well, it was actually this.
Right.
It was the old Dr. Rush 2-step where actually I have been doing,
Right.
So all right, well, I don't know if we have a funniest line or whatever, but I got to mention this line. When Greer is, and one of the best parts of this episode was Greer trying to get Eli to go hit on Gin, right? I mean, that was one of the best parts. And Greer has that great line, ordinarily, I would tell you to just be yourself. But in your case.
That was awesome.
That's so good. That's so good.
And it turns out that it was because he was Eli that he got the speech.
Yeah. And he needed the woman to step up and kind of, he was never going to do it.
He hasn't built that confidence yet.
No.
Well, why would he? I mean,
exactly.
The one thing he has going for him now is that Chloe, who is allegedly the hottest woman on the ship, but fourth at best for me. But anyway, maybe fifth.
Good Lord.
The thing he has going for him is that Chloe kind of has her stamp of approval on him now, right? We can say not as a boyfriend, but she approves of him as a confidant. They're like brother and sister almost.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so that has to do something for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Surely he's like, well, if Chloe approves of me, how bad can I be? Right. Because he thinks so much of her. So he's got that kind of in his pocket that he didn't have before the show. Right. So, okay. Do we have any story points to talk about, or you want to go in unanswered questions?
No, we can move on. Oh,
I have one. I don't know if it's a talking point or if it's an unanswered question. For me, it's an unanswered question that will go into a crazy diatribe. So, wherever you want me to go with this,
go ahead.
So the one thing, it's the very beginning, and I'm like, why is Young so upset that his wife wants a divorce? And this is not commentary on marriage, divorce, cheating, not cheating, whatever, outside relationships. This is not a commentary on that. This is just, he was married. He cheated on his wife. He had a full-blown affair with TJ. They had a baby, lost the baby. He's out in the middle of space. They were, I guess, they were on the rocks before because she obviously knew about the affair with TJ. So why is he shocked and upset that she wants a divorce? I'm like, dude.
And then she was with Telford.
Right. I mean, it started because he was young, but yeah, I do think that there is something else with Telford there. So I'm just like, dude, why are you surprised? And why are you so upset about it? Because hello. I mean, like I said, it's not a commentary on who was right or who was wrong. It's just like, why are you surprised? And that just goes right into my other thing. It's like, why is he so horrible to TJ? I mean, she's obviously wanting to try to connect. I'm like, at this point, I honestly don't know where their relationship stands. I mean, I would like to, I thought at the very beginning, because they were on the same base, yes, there was something going on. And then, of course, everything gets put on hold because they're just trying to survive. But then she had this baby, the baby's died, and I still have a problem with her, like, being delusional about the baby still being alive. It's like, honey, no. But yet she's trying to connect with Young, and he just, like, dismisses her like she's really nothing. Does. And I'm just like, dude, you don't deserve anyone. Because you're acting like a bleep.
So, just so I have this straight, you are upset at Young for being a flawed character after just saying how impressed you were that Young is a flawed character.
I'm not upset at him being a flawed character. I just don't understand why he was surprised and depressed that the wife that he really didn't have a relationship with wanted to no longer be legally attached to him.
Love is a crazy thing, and it does crazy things to people's brains. That's the only thing I can respond with.
But see, I don't think he loves her. I think, and also, and I am going to put this caveat out there. I am coming at this as a person that is just like a little over a year divorced, almost 3 years separated. So, and I'm the one that wanted the divorce. So I definitely see things like this, I think, in a very different light than a lot of people. But it's just like, I don't understand why he's shocked that. Oh,
no, I agree.
She doesn't want to
I
stay
think it's
married.
a fair point.
Even though she should stay married to him because she doesn't know if he's coming back. And so, I mean, he could die in outer space and then she'd get a whole lot of benefits. Survivor benefits.
That's fair.
But
well, maybe she can marry Telford through the communication stones and still get the benefits and be with the
he's on a different ship. They don't know if he's alive.
I know. And then and meanwhile, Young is on the ship with TJ.
Right.
Like who had the baby. It's like, who could blame his wife, right? I don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right. I have an unanswered question. Well, I think actually the unanswered questions from the previous episodes I said are answered in this one. So we find out how long they'll be in quarantine. Would Scott be infected by Chloe's blood? All that. The answer is no, and not very long. A couple other things like that. I think we need to zip on to most interesting or intriguing character in this episode. I'm going to throw mine out. I thought Gien was the most interesting character in this episode. And I really like her a lot. Oh, well, okay. Chloe just dropped to 6th. She just dropped to 6th. I keep dropping
Chloe's falling down. Chloe's falling down.
Farther down. So far, I've got TJ, Camille, James, Gien, and Park. So Chloe's now 7th. That's sad. Poor Chloe. I'm being silly. All right. So do you guys have any most interesting or intriguing character?
I would say for me, the most I have Young for all the reasons that Laura was mentioning. He shows how weak he is, but he still comes through in the end. And he's got that cool scene with Scott. I thought he was a fascinating character this episode.
Yeah, that's true. Laura, you concur?
Yeah, I do. Though I just want to quickly backtrack. We don't have to discuss this, but unanswered question because it's unanswered. What is Rush's end game?
Yeah, that's
that was because of the fact of he still hasn't told anybody I control the ship and all of that. So that was that. So, but no, this one, my most intriguing character, most interesting to me was Greer and his soft spot for Eli. In this, because you see, I mean, usually he's kind of dismissive of Eli. You know, he's this gamer kid, and I mean, Greer has seen a lot as Master Sergeant in the Army, and experienced a lot completely different upbringing. But this soft spot he has, and his almost being like a big brother and encouraging him. It's like, dude, that girl's totally into you. Shoot your shot. And he like, what? She is?
Yeah,
and
he's like, totally clueless.
I'm going to arrange to be called away for how long? How long do you need? I loved it. And I have not seen Greer smile more until this episode.
Right.
He's got this, I mean, to me, it was just so sweet and so adorable. And, it's like, yeah, no, you can do this. She's totally into you. You need to go. And Eli just being totally clueless.
But they came up with such a goofy reason for him to go. And then he's like, this could take a while.
Right.
Well, but he even said,
he said ahead of time,
it'll just be a ridiculous thing. It's not, just
the more ridiculous,
Eli,
the better, basically.
Well, because Eli was like, well, isn't that kind of dumb? And he's like, yeah, well, the dumber the better. It's basically making it obvious to everyone involved why Greer was leaving.
Right.
That's right. I will point out that apparently they did shove the lovesick Lucian Alliance guy at the airlock. I imagine he'll probably pop up again next episode or the next couple, but having 2 episodes without him was kind of nice. And we did get Camille back, so we at least didn't lose her. We lost that guy though for a while. I can't even think of his name. I just think of him as the guy that likes the big dude that likes TJ. I do sympathize with him for liking TJ. Let me be clear about that. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying he's annoying. Okay.
You mentioned Camille, and that I don't know where this fits in, but I just found it really interesting when Camille and Rush and Scott were all talking about Young, and they're telling Scott, you need to take command of the ship. He's not capable of doing it. This is wrong. And Scott meant something about, oh, you guys don't want to do that. Well, you saw how that turned out before. So
right.
That's right. All right, let's see. We're zipping on to, let's just skip that. Favorite moment. Yeah.
I was shoving Young out the airlock because he was annoying in that whole TJ moment.
Yeah, he deserved it. All right, Andy, did you have a favorite moment from this one?
Favorite moment, I couldn't decide. It was either that moment between Scott and Young when Scott was basically telling him to quit being an idiot and get back to work, and that final moment between Eli and Gin. I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah.
When she gives Eli the smooch.
Oh, I like Gin. I don't know if I've ever seen her in anything else, but she looks familiar.
Yeah.
Laura, what was your favorite moment?
My favorite moment was when Greer had to step away.
Yeah.
Because it was just, it was so over the top and crazy and fun and sweet. And yes, I guess I was feeling sentimental. What are you doing?
Sorry. I apologize. I was trying to
everybody to know that he is the star of this show.
No, that's so wrong. I just was trying to do something different with the background, and it started making our faces move around. So my bad. No, I agree. I had not really a favorite moment. I just went into the thing where I made a few notes about how it was the whole thing we just talked about was how much of it was Rush figuring stuff out with the ship and how much it was the ship deciding something, and were the aliens ever a threat at all? Do we ever see the aliens again? I don't remember. It'd be interesting if this is the last time we see those aliens. I just feel like as long as Zoe's subplot with her alien infection is going on, there's still the possibility those aliens could show up again, So I'm not really ready to write them off yet, even though they turned out to completely be a simulation.
Right.
All right. Who's Zoe, and why do you keep talking about her?
Chloe.
I think he meant Chloe.
There's a dog across
Zoe on the brain.
I do. There's a dog named Zoe, and I get so confused. I call the dog Chloe and the character Zoe. All right, let's see. Who won this episode, Laura?
I put Eli number 1 because he finally got his kiss, and everyone on the ship because Young got his crap together.
Yeah.
And actually stepped up and started to lead again.
All right, Andy.
I put Colonel Young because, like Laura said, he got his stuff together and he's now refocused on saving the crew.
And I had them, and I had Gin also because she got to have a kiss with the smart kid, and maybe it'll work out. We'll see. All right. Well, then, Andy, who lost this episode?
I don't have anybody losing this episode. I didn't see anybody that came out on the losing end.
I bet Laura has one.
I bet you know who, too.
Well, let's hear it.
I put TJ.
Bingo.
Because she was just completely dismissed. Now, granted, I know Young was in a bad place, but TJ's been in a bad place for a while, and she's finally ready to talk about it with the one person she needs to talk about it and he needs to talk about it, and he just completely dismisses her.
Yeah,
Right.
that was pretty bad. That was the worst thing Young's ever done, pretty much.
Yeah, that kind of hurt my heart.
Yeah. Was there a most Stargate moment for you, Laura?
I put the ship returning to FTL when Young finally mans up.
Yeah. Getting to FTL just in the nick of time is certainly
Yep.
a Stargate thing.
I have Rush manipulating things from behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. And then I have a time loop.
Right.
Oh, wow, another time loop. Yay. So yeah, it does they do love their tropes in the Stargate universe.
Yeah.
Star trope universe, how to call it. By the way, I don't know how much we've reported on it, but the Stargate the new Stargate series remains apparently dead. But I did want to mention in our opening, and I forgot, that there's been quite the campaign to save Stargate and all that all over social media. People really are these things eventually run out of steam because when people realize the studios don't care.
Right.
But it's interesting to me though, because when there was talk of a new Babylon 5 show done by JMS, it seemed to me the majority of Babylon 5 fans were negative on that.
Right.
Whereas I guess it was because this was not going to be a reboot, but kind of like an additional show, a new show, like a fourth show. They were all entirely positive on it and are very mad that it got canceled. When Babylon 5's reboot didn't happen, the Babylon 5 fans kind of yawned and went about their business. So it's very different.
Interestingly enough, that's exactly why this Stargate show was canceled, was because all the Stargate fans, 1,200 of us, were like, yay! And then they took a look at things and it's like, this is not getting any traction outside of this small core group, so nobody's going to watch this. So we're not going to pump all that money into it.
And that was the point of the Babylon 5 reboot, was it was going to start from the beginning and try to bring in a whole audience. And I was pounding my brains out on the desktop trying to explain to Babylon 5 fans online. They were like, well, we don't want this. And I'm like, this isn't for you.
Right.
This is for my daughter. Okay. But they couldn't comprehend it. They just didn't they honestly thought that people, your son's age or my daughter's age, Andy, we're going to go and watch a show from the 1990s that's with CGI effects that are worse than a video game today.
Right. Well, you know what? I can identify with that because when they did the remake of Battlestar Galactica, that's part of why I did not really watch it, because I was highly offended as an original Battlestar Galactica fan. I'm like, why? How can you redo this? Yeah, exactly. And
how dare you, sir? Good day, sir. I said good day.
So I will admit, I was one of those with Battlestar Galactica. I'm like, no, I don't want to reboot.
What helped for me is that when the new Battlestar Galactica started in 2003, 2004, whenever it was, my girlfriend was younger and had never seen the 78 version. And so she was interested, and so I watched it with her, but I was annoying as crap. I would not have wanted to be her watching it, because I'm constantly like, well, that's different. Well, no, in the old one, it was like, well, no, that person wasn't that. And I know she just wanted to punch me in the face, and I wouldn't have blamed her at all, but I couldn't help it, right? How could I? You can't blame us if we love the old show and it's so in our DNA, and then you see this new thing and you're just wanting to compare.
Yep. That's fair.
Exactly.
So,
but
why isn't Baltar sitting in a chair, bossing robots around?
Why is he having relations with Cylon?
Lady.
And that the Battlestar Galactica reboot was the proof in the pudding, that was hugely successful, and it revolutionized sci-fi TV. So
exactly.
Which is 70% of the DNA of Stargate Universe.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Stargate Universe is if you made a Stargate show about Space 1999 and it looks like Battlestar Galactica. What this show is. And that's why I like it, honestly.
Right.
I like all of that. All right. Do you guys have any flex categories for this one?
I have the story character development that left me scratching my head, and that was Eli and Gin. I did not see that one coming from anywhere. That one floored me. Yeah.
Well, I think because in the whole Lucian Alliance, I'm like, have we seen Well, we have seen Gin once before this because she was trying to help. But
Yeah.
like even before that, I mean, she was this tiny little character, but they found a use for this character. And yes, it came out of nowhere, but in reality, if it wasn't for the addition of the Lucian Alliance and having this character, Eli would never have a chance with anyone, because other than Chloe, everybody else is so much older. Like, I don't know the age difference between Chloe and Scott. To me, it seems like Chloe and Eli are close in age.
Yeah.
And so, but I look at, so yes, Chloe, and this is kind of, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep bringing up the feminism angle and stuff, but Chloe and Scott, regardless of their age difference, that everyone buys that, but no one would buy Eli and Lieutenant James.
No.
But yet Scott and James were together before all of this started.
Yeah, right.
So yet so basically, even though as a woman who had, I mean, my ex-husband is 7.5 years or 6.5 years younger than me. I mean, I've dated a guy who was 10.5 years younger than me. So I have been involved with a lot of younger men. What did you say?
Look at Laura. Look at Laura.
But I've also been involved with men. I dated a guy for 2.5 years that was 13 years older than me. So
holy cow.
I've had, but so I would think maybe in a couple years, the possibility of an Eli and James character getting together, but right now that would never happen. She's going to look at him as a kid.
Right.
So, without bringing Gin in being younger, but they kind of, it's like they created her for him. She's attractive. She is smart, like wicked smart. She's read his research. She's kind of fangirling over Eli.
Yeah.
And he's still like, oh yeah, she's really cool. She likes my work. And Greer's like, dude. Dude.
That's a good point, though, that there's nobody on the ship that we've seen that would be a good match for Eli, that we've seen at least so far. And so that was one thing they did accomplish, I thought, very good with the Lucian Alliance at the end of season 1, is say, okay, you've gotten to know these main characters. Now here's some fresh blood, right? Here's like a new villain. Here's a new guy we don't know about yet. Here's this girl, I just wonder, what was David Blue's reaction when they're like, all right, Julie McNiven's joined the show and she's going to be making out with you. David Blue's probably like, oh, that's terrible. Oh, no.
Oh, darn. I'll take one for the team. For the good of the crew.
For the good of the crew. Did you guys have any other flex ones? I have a couple, as I said.
I don't.
Okay. I had the most interesting use of food is that we don't get the hydroponics garden expansion because more guns, no butter, more guns, less butter. And then I guess
I'm not sure hydroponics would fix the butter problem.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, no.
Butter isn't made that way, man.
It's a metaphor.
Okay.
That's the old Vietnam. I thought you knew the old Vietnam line, guns and butter, right? If you pay for Vietnam, you can't afford stuff at home, so it's guns and butter.
I got you.
The story character development that left me scratching my head was: did Rush end the simulation? Did Destiny render a verdict on Young? Was there a combination? Exactly how it was just never clear to me at least, how it played out. So, all right. Laura, how did you rate this episode 0 to 5?
I actually really liked this episode, even though it sounded like I did with all my complaints about it. But no, I did like the whole. So I gave it a 4.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. Very cool. I wanted to like this one better, but I thought it was a little bit too derivative. And again, it seemed very episodic because Young was deemed worthy to be commander of the crew, which he already was anyway. So it didn't really resolve anything. It didn't really advance much. So I gave it a 2.5. Again, a mid-range episode. Wasn't terrible, but it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be.
I also gave it a 2.5. I thought it was better than the previous one, but still not quite up to the level of like eels with venom flying around in a time loop, but that's just me. All right, Andy, here we go.
All right.
Gate World and IMDb ratings. Where do you suppose on a scale of 0 to 10 with decimal places this one comes out?
I'm going to go with just the baseline. This one I'm going to say is a 7.
Okay. The IMDb rating for this one is 7.4. So IMDb liked it a little better than you might have guessed.
Yeah.
The Gate World rating for this episode is more in line with Laura. It's 8.48.
Wow.
So
All
right at 8.5. That's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. All right. So that gets us to the end of these two, which has been a fun ride. After we come back and do the 2 one-off Battlestar Galactica episodes, so the next 2 that our little gang will do will be the Lost Warrior and the Long Patrol. This is one where Apollo gets stranded on some planet, and then Starbuck, in a completely different episode, gets stranded on some planet.
Which is different from the episode in Battlestar Galactica 80 where Starbuck gets lost on the stranded on a planet.
Which was actually the best episode of that series.
It was.
Just not a high bar to jump, but okay, fair enough.
Andy, why do I have a feeling we're going to have to do our own podcast if we want to do Galactica?
We're gonna drag Van kicking and screaming into 1980.
Oh my gosh. Oh, 1980. All right. So
yeah, he wouldn't even come to my Galactica 1980 panel at DragonCon last year.
What a jerk.
I know. He hates me.
So that's true. So next up, let me just quickly check and tell you that our next 2 Stargate Universe episodes will be The Greater Good. Well, it sounds like something Rush would be involved in. The Greater Good. And Malice. Malice is coming. All right. Cool. So I guess that's going to do it for us, gang. I'll let you go about your lives for another couple of weeks, and then we'll reconvene. So
sounds good.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you all down the road. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you guys.